10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Rising Coaches Member Spotlight. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Today's episode is brought to you by Dr. Dish, the #1 training equipment and shooting machine in the world. Our guest today, Alex Pribble, Associate Head Coach at Seattle U, a new user of Dr. Dish, I believe, right? You guys just switched to Team Dr. Dish.
Just started up.
Has it lived up to the hype so far? So far, so good?
It's been good. Yeah, our guys love it. They're wearing it out already. It's been good.
Good. I love it.
Yeah.
Make sure you check them out at Dr. Dish B-Ball or drdish.com. If you let them know Rising Coaches sent you, I think you get $300 off a machine. So pretty good. Save you some money in the process. As I mentioned, joined by Alex Pribble, Associate Head Coach at Seattle University. Alex, good morning, man. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Appreciate you having me on here today.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you being on. Fairly new member. You just signed up right before the Western Conference out in Phoenix a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So far so good. A good experience.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great. Like you said, I was spending a lot of time on some of the Zoom sessions and some of the little professional development things you guys offer. And then right before that clinic in the West, I just said, I need to pull the trigger and become a member and get to know some of these guys. And it's been great. That event was fantastic. And it's been a good month of digging through all the great content you guys offer.
Yeah, I love it. What was like the biggest takeaway or highlight of the Phoenix event for you?
It's just a great opportunity. I went there with one of our director of basketball operations and a couple other guys close to the program. So
Matt Jones, shout out Matt Jones,
the legend,
one of our most active members. Yeah,
he's fantastic, man. He's actually one of the guys that really turned me on to your network. And so went out there with him and got to spend some time with him, which was for me the best part. But along with that, listening to guys like Marlon Stewart talk, who I have great respect for, and I learned a lot from Phil Beckner on his individual development stuff. Just across the board, man, it was a great learning opportunity for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, let's learn a little bit more about you, man. Tell us where you're from. Tell us how you got into coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a California guy originally, California Bay Area. Grew up in a little place called Fairfax, California, kind of right in the of San Francisco and Berkeley. I grew up as a ball boy going to the Cal Berkeley games. That was kind of my dream school. Had a solid high school career and was given an opportunity to walk on at Cal Berkeley. And so I spent my first 2 years as a walk on as part of the program, loved every minute of it. Started earning a little playing time, got a scholarship, and ended up starting my senior year. So it was a great experience at Cal that led directly to it. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just who did you play for at Cal? And like when you were growing up as a ball boy, who was the head coach at that time?
Yeah, so I played for Ben Braun, who's a mentor of mine and just a great person, a great CEO of a program. I learned a ton from, and I was a graduate assistant for a year under him as well, which was fantastic. When I grew up, there was a couple different coaches, but I grew up watching Jason Kidd. I grew up watching Al Grigsby. I grew up watching just the prime of Cal basketball, and loved it, man. And then really when I played, my first year, I was still kind of in awe of these guys. My teammates were guys like Leon Poe and Ayende Ubaka, and just these fantastic players playing against guys like Brandon Roy and Nate Robinson up here in Washington. And it's just the Pac-10 at the time. It still is, but the Pac-10 was just fantastic. So great experience.
Yeah, I grew up in the Pac-10. I'm from SoCal, so like I followed the Pac-10. And my dad went to UCLA, so grew up a fan. Did you have who was just thinking back to when you were a kid, who was the most memorable player or team or a memory that sticks out from that time?
It was a little bit older. I think when I was in high school or maybe middle school, but when Eddie House came in and just destroyed Cal, put up like a 60-point mark on him, was pretty special. And I actually went to the same high school as Steve Lavin. So we had a little connection to him. And one of my favorite memories when I was a young kid, maybe freshman or sophomore year of high school, was going to a Cal game and then meeting Steve Lavin after, UCLA finished playing there and meeting the coaches and the players. And that was a great experience too. I mean, he's a legend where I grew up. And so yeah, meeting him and meeting the Bruins is pretty fun also.
And he's the man. Like Steve Lavin is just like when you meet him in person, he is exactly like how he is on air. Like he's just such a laid back dude, no ego, will talk to anybody.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Funny.
Yeah, my first experience at the Final Four, you got to the Final Four, you do some of the professional development clinics and you're walking around the lobbies and whatnot. My first time doing that, one of the first people I ran into was Steve Lavin, and he's just holding court with 10 people sitting around, and Steve's telling stories. And Coach Lav is just, he'll talk to anybody. He's such a humble guy. It's just really, I appreciate spending time with him. So,
absolutely. Okay, sorry to interrupt. So you play at Cal, you're GA at Cal for Ben Braun.
Yeah, great experience. I mean, obviously, really memorable. That was kind of my dream growing up, was to play there. Was a GA for a year while I was getting my grad degree and my master's, and that was kind of my look behind the curtain. What college basketball was all about. I got to help with some scouts, help with some film exchange back in the day. Meeting the Stanford GA in the parking lot as we exchanged DVDs. It was a little bit of a different world back then, but it was just great. Got to know what college basketball was all about. And when that finished up, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. That's kind of the way I see coaching also, is through the lens of teaching. So I ended up becoming a teacher right out of college for 4 years back in my hometown. And that went along with the varsity high school coaching job. So I got to coach varsity hoops and teach and just kind of develop, kind of cut my teeth a little bit, with coaching, develop some practice plans, develop my strategy. I kind of feel bad for the guys that I coached as a 22-year-old, because I was just an emotional roller coaster, laying it all out there every night. But I loved it. I got to learn a lot, got to get better every day. And so I was a high school coach for a few years, and then made the plunge into college coaching and started at San Francisco State, worked for a guy named Paul Trevor, who to this day, he's now at Stanislaus State in California. But to this day is the best coach I've been around when it comes to relating to players. Players will just run through a wall for him. He just has a way of connecting with his guys that I've really tried to take with me. He's truthful to them. He's straight up with them. He just was a great coach. So I was with him for 2 years. Had a great experience.
Hey Alex, how did you get that up? Did you have a relationship with him before? Did you just apply randomly? How did that happen?
That same. I should give a shout out to Drake High School, now called Archie Williams High School, but that's where I said Steve Lavin went to school. That's where I went to school. It's a great coaching tree. The Sayas, a lot of great coaches have come through Drake High School, and Paul Trevor was another Drake High School guy. And so, believe it or not, I was spending some time with my former coaches. We were out at dinner, hanging out, talking, and they told me that Coach Trev was looking for an assistant. And so I was a high school coach at the time, and gave him a call the next morning, and it was great. 3 days later, after kind of inquiring about the job, it was recruiting season. It was this time of year, and I hopped in his car and we drove to Southern California and, started the recruiting trail. And at that time, D2 California state school budget, you're hopping in the car, you're driving down there and climbing through the window to stay at a buddy's house because you weren't going to pay for a hotel room, and you were just going to watch games all day. And it was just, those 2 years, I learned how to grind it. I learned how to just give it my all. Wasn't worried at all about the money or the end result, just kind of trying to get better and learn about the business every day. And very fortunately had Paul Trevor to kind of guide me through those 2 years, my first 2 years in the college business. Yeah.
Love it. So where does your career go next, and how do you, because you had some time as a head coach, right? Before,
I did. Yeah.
The staff there in Seattle.
Yeah. So the next big step, the big change was I went from Division II California coaching to coaching with Jim Hayford, who's actually my current boss, but he was my boss at Eastern Washington. And he's been
Alex, what years were you there at Eastern Washington?
I was there 2013 and 2014, and then 2012, 2013, and then 2013, 2014. So the second year we won the conference and had Tyler Harvey, who was the nation's leading scorer and played in the NCAA tournament against Georgetown. And it was a great 2 year stretch, which led to my head coaching gig. But yeah,
I think we might have played against you guys. We might have overlapped because I was at Northern Colorado.
Okay.
And I think 11-12.
With Coach Foster. Yeah.
I was with BJ Hill.
BJ Hill here.
Yeah. And it was the year after they won it. We were terrible. But I wonder if we might have overlapped that year. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, the Big Sky, a lot of travel, battle every night. It was great. It was my first time being at the Division I level, and so just learning how to recruit at that level. Coach Hayford is, he's the best CEO I've been around or been exposed to. Like he looks at the full picture of the program and cares about and puts time into every little corner of the program. No corner is going to get cut. He doesn't miss anything. He does a great job overseeing it all. And so, yeah, my first year was a good experience of learning from him. And my second year, we won the conference, and I was fortunate to have some great players. Like I said, Tyler Harvey, who's still having a great career overseas, and a couple other guys who just really kind of led us there. But was there for 2 years, learned a ton from Coach Hayford. And, like I said, he was a great CEO. So the other guys on staff, I got my head coaching opportunity that year to go to St. Martin's, which we'll talk about in a second. But the other two guys on staff were Shante Leggins and Dave Riley. And Shante, became the head coach at Eastern Washington a couple years later, is now at Portland University, and Dave Riley is now the new head coach at Eastern Washington. So, that whole staff, credit to Coach Hayford for kind of giving us some guidance and showing us the ropes, but that whole staff had opportunities to be head coaches, and two of those guys are really thriving right now at the Division I level. So it was great. We knocked off Indiana University at Indiana that year. Just some really fun experiences with that group, who I'm really very close with still. So after that year, went to St. Martin's University and was the head coach there. It's a Division II school in Olympia, Washington. Was the head coach there for 4 years. And that was great. I mean, another opportunity to be a head coach, which I hadn't had since being a high school coach, and just really focused on kind of getting better each year. It was a program that had struggled a little bit. Their record wasn't great. They were coming off kind of a 6-win season the year before. And we just got better. We just tried to get better and better every day, every week, every year. And that's kind of how it played out. We were over 500 our first year, made the conference tournament the second year, then made the NCAA tournament the next 2 years, finishing in the Elite Eight, in the Sweet 16 our last year. So 4 great years there, just surrounded by good people, great coaches. Had a few assistant coaches with me that were just high level guys who had been head coaches in the past. So I could really lean on them as we were growing together. And then after those 4 years and kind of seeing those guys through, ended up back at Seattle U with Coach Hayford again, back to the Division I level. And that's where I am right now. So it's been a fun journey, man.
Awesome. You had to get the band back together at Seattle U.
That's right. Yeah. And like I said, Coach Hayford is great. He's been a head coach for 23 years now. He knows the ropes. He knows how he likes to do things. He's had so much success everywhere he's been. So for me, we now have a deep enough trusting relationship where, he can give me some freedom basketball wise to do some things on the court. And I can really kind of constantly be in communication with him and refer to him for questions about how to do things, bounce things off him about getting positive feedback, where we need to improve. And it's just a really good working relationship. He's a great mentor, a great CEO, and it's been good here at Seattle U.
Yeah, that's awesome. As an outsider, first of all, I agree. Jim Hayford is one of the most underrated, coaches in the country. He's been so consistent year in and year out. As an outsider, I would have said okay, this dude's like a brilliant offensive mind, and he really recruits to his system and knows exactly what he wants. So when you say that he's what he's great at is the CEO thing, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to hear more about that because I didn't know that. It's just funny from the outside what you notice. No, for sure. That's spot on. I think those two things are feathers in his cap for sure. He is a brilliant offensive mind, and I dig into that a lot. He and I work. I spent a lot of time just digging through offensively, talking about different things, and would definitely talk about that a lot. He does a great job recruiting to his system. But I would throw a third thing in there, which is especially now. He really is committed to developing the players, off the court. That is his thing. He spends a ton of time talking to them about becoming better people, about developing character, about, building positive habits that are going to help them later in life. He really, really means it when he says he's going to care about them off the court. So those are kind of the 3 pillars to Coach Hayford, I think that really stand out. So, offensively, man, he's all about, he was way ahead of his time with some of the NBA concepts about spacing the court, kind of setting up those 5-out spacing concepts you see a lot right now with some initial trigger ball screen action and spreading the court around that. He was doing that back at Eastern Washington. I mean, we had a lot of success offensively, in particular,
at Eastern Washington, and it was based on a lot of those concepts, those strategies that that Jim was putting into place really early.
No doubt. I unfortunately had a front row seat to it, to all your shooters and your bigs stepping out and draining threes. And,
it's a fun way to I think our guys really enjoy it, and part of that, a big piece of that too, is individual development. We were talking about Phil Beckner earlier, and he obviously is at the cutting edge with a lot of this stuff, but that was a big part of Coach Hayford's philosophy early on too, was, space the floor, keep things simple, and make your players better. And a lot of time with guys one-on-one, helping them get better, tracking their improvement. That was a big part of it.
How much do you guys shoot in practice?
A ton. I mean, every day, the first half hour is full speed shooting drills. Every day, guys come back in a row, have those individual development sessions, and then they pretty much report to him daily on shooting numbers as well. How many shots it takes them to make 100 threes, different things like that, to just keep track of their progress and monitor their improvement. So, like you said, we really try to recruit to the system a little bit. We try to make sure we bring in players that, that those are their strengths. We hope guys are good shooters coming out of high school as well. But we also have some guys in our program right now, the Riley Grigsbys of the world, and some people who have really, really developed into 40% three-point shooters. It wasn't just that that's who they were early. They put in the time, they bought into the system in place, they've gotten better. And so, there's a process. There's a process for getting better every day, every year. And these guys have done that here at Seattle U.
I love it. Yeah, and we talk about it all the time, but you got to pick what you want to be good at. If you want to be a good three-point shooting team, you got to dedicate time and practice to shoot threes.
That's right.
It's pretty simple, right?
For sure. And I think at the time when we were first implementing some of this stuff at Eastern Washington, there was still a lot of pound the ball inside. More motion offenses being run a lot, and for us, we were really early in on the spread ball screen stuff, and we recruited shooters. That was our strength. We had some international kids, some kids from Australia. We still do now, and kind of the whole St. Mary's deal, where skilled kids from Australia was part of our lane as well, and had a lot of success there.
Love it. All right, Alex. Before we let you go, man, give us the best piece of advice you can give, or the biggest lesson you've learned throughout your career.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what I try to take pride in as a coach, and off the court as well, is just being focused on getting better. I mean, that's why I'm here at Rising Coaches. That's why I joined. It's a one day at a time, one step at a time kind of thing. When we were at St. Martin's, our big philosophy, our slogan was to climb the mountain. That was our thing. And call it corny, call it cliche, but it allowed our guys to focus on just one day at a time, taking one step up, some peaks and some valleys, but just trying to get better every day. And that's really the way we try to operate around here is control. You can control day by day, find ways to get better. And, for the coaches that are on here listening, or the coaches that are part of Rising Coaches, that's step one is find ways to extend your network, to get better, to watch clinics, to improve. And so day by day, staying in the moment and getting better. That's our thing.
Awesome. Well, Alex, I've enjoyed it, man. We'll be rooting you guys on this year, and
appreciate it.
Stay in touch. Let us know how we can help.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. Take care.